compensation appeal. We had this bill during the session. I think this is just a sunset. Senator Pike, is he here?
Let me text him and see where he is. I'll text him.
Wait a second. All right, this one.
Maybe go to the next one.
We're going to go where he went.
I'll find him.
Senator Pike, you're up. Senate Bill 5107.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Senate Bill 5107 is a bill requested by the governor's office to remove two enactment clauses from the 2020 legislation authorizing the establishment of short-term compensation programs. So the enactment would be revised to extend the deadline for the program being implemented by moving it from January 1 to January 1, 2022. Additionally, it's necessary to remove the sunset enactment clause as the Department of Labor will not allow the program to be eligible for the special grant program with that enactment. So this bill seeks to address those 2 points, Mr. Chairman. You might recall that the program, what it does, in the underlying legislation that has already passed, is it allows those persons that have hours reduced. So in other words, if they are working and have their hours cut by 40%, it allows them to be eligible for unemployment compensation to that 40% of what they get in unemployment. So it's sort of combining, many small businesses are struggling, they have to reduce hours, the employee can still get a portion of the unemployment compensation. So by removing and fixing the enactment, this will allow the administration to apply and be successful with grant applications.
Can you remove the mask when you speak because people have trouble understanding what you're saying?
Do I need to clarify anything, Mr. Chairman?
So you're extending the bill that was passed. What else?
And extending the implementation deadline, since they got feedback that they were not able to be eligible for the grant. So they need additional time. And also, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to just offer one line amendment on line 15 after program to insert not later than and then strike by January 1, 2022. That way it's clear that as soon as they're ready, they've been awarded the grant, they can begin to implement it with the goal that it is in fact in place by January 1 of 2022.
Second. All right, you've heard the motion in a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman. Senator Mason. No. Oh. Senator Norman.
Thank you. With the gentleman from Prince William yield for a question.
Mr. Chairman, I yield.
Mr. Chairman, my question is, what is the additional cost of this going to be, especially in light of the fact that the Virginia Employment Commission is already doing pro formas that it could substantially increase unemployment compensation, employers' contribution?
Mr. Chairman, I would defer to, I believe, Megan Healy and others from the administration in terms of the long-term cost to the unemployment trust fund. I know this is already legislation that has passed, so it has been planned within the budget. It's just getting access to the federal dollars for the purpose of removing this enactment clause, but certainly I'm sure Megan Healy can further clarify, Mr. Chairman.
Technical problem, hold on. Hold on, that's the wrong bill.
Okay.
And Mr. Chairman, I believe Megan Healy is on the Zoom call, but does not have speaker's rights as of yet. So if staff can take a look at that, that'd be great.
Great. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, great. This is Megan Healy, Governor Northam's Chief Workforce Advisor. To help answer that question, one is the upfront expense to building out the system is $2.7 million that we need to pull down from the federal government through the CARES Act. That fund, to get the money upfront basically just for the technology system, we can use till 2024. The extra expense of employers, and specifically to the question of the unemployment insurance trust, is that actually we rather people or workers stay on the payroll and get a little bit extra during this work share or short-time compensation, has less actually, it pulls less money out of the trust than really just laying someone completely off. And that's when the pool taxes go up. We don't know the full, because again, the full scope of workers going back to work and what this looks like over the next year. But if somebody's on work share, it's less burden to the UI trust.
Megan, could you hold on for just 1 minute? Senator McPike, Tom Stevens didn't get the full import of your amendment. Could you repeat the amendment again and we'll revote it?
Sure, Mr. Chairman. Line 15, after program.
Line 15 after program.
Insert not later than, and then strike by.
So it'll read not later than January 1st
of
2022.
That's right, Mr. Chairman.
All right, all those in favor of adopting the amendment, say aye. Opposed? All right, the amendment's adopted. Megan, go ahead.
Sorry about that. So the question was specifically about the additional financial burdens to the unemployment insurance trust. So if an employer does the work share or short-time compensation with this bill, it's better that the person is on the payroll and not pulling as much unemployment insurance from the trust. And so the pool charges would be could be a little higher, but not as much as if more people were actually on full unemployment or furloughed.
Everybody hear her?
Mr. Chairman,
Senator Norman.
my question is very simple. Is it going to end up costing more money to extend this benefit?
Mr. Chairman.
I would imagine there's got to be a price tag.
Yes. Mr. Chairman, I mean, I'd offer it would cost more by not doing this. And I think that's the intent of the effort is a small business has an opportunity. They've got to reduce, they've got decisions to make. They lay someone off completely, the person's out. Now you have to pay full unemployment. With this, they get a slight benefit associated with reduction of hours.
If they got
and so otherwise,
if they get more money, it would cost even more.
Mr. Chairman, otherwise the individual is going to leave that company and seek employment elsewhere.
Right.
And so if they went fully unemployed, now we have to pick up the full tab. So
That's
this,
correct.
as proposed, would pick up a portion of it. So it's sort of a collaboration between the employers who are making tough decisions now and the Unemployment Commission.
Right.
Mr.
All right.
Mr. Chairman?
Senator Bell.
Mr. Chairman, quick question. I think this is for Megan Healy, if she's still with us. I like the concept, and I think it does maybe take a burden off businesses by, again, keeping people at least employed in some portion. My question, though, is I've had a number of constituent concerns about not having rapid response on unemployment claims, and I know they've been flooded with unprecedented demand. Can you speak to, can we continue to handle the demand, or does this have any other demand on the workforce there?
Megan, you there?
Yes, I'm here, and thank you for that question, Senator Bell. So that is why in this bill that we changed the date of implementation. That'll be in 2022, not 21. Currently, as you have all heard, and very supportive of the Virginia Employment Commission, the legislators, that we had to start 3 new programs in March 15th. Due to the pandemic, the VEC is currently working on a 4th program due to the presidential executive order, the extra $300. And then when Congress comes in September, there's probably going to be a 4th, if not a 5th, extra program that the Employment Commission will have to implement and design, develop, and then implement. And so that's why there is the change in that date to when we can implement this. Again, we want to get as many people that qualify and eligible for benefits currently in the situation. We need to get them out money before we start a new program.
Senator Newman.
Mr. Chairman, I think this has been a good explanation, but to me, I'm going to vote no, and here's the reason. There's 2 reasons. We don't have enough information. One, we do not know how much it's going to cost. We simply are going to act, and right now, employers are going to be hammered next year with unemployment, hammered. And we don't know how much this is going to cost. Number 2, I think Senator Bell brings up an important point, and I could be persuaded if his concern is solved, and that is the Virginia Employment Commission is snowed under so badly, and this is going to be a fractional program, more complex than any program we've had. So I imagine the bill is going to move forward, but I think between now and the time we get to the floor, both Senator Norman's and Senator Bell's kind of queries need to be answered before we act affirmatively on the bill in the final version, sir.
All right. Any other questions by the committee to the patron? All right. Do you have are people waiting to testify? Because I don't have a list here. No. All right. Bills before us.
Mr. Chairman?
Senator Bell.
Mr. Chairman, again, like I said, I like the idea of the bill and what it does. I voiced my concerns, but I believe that those will continue to be satisfied going forward. And I would just ask the patron to continue to work with Secretary Healy as we go forward on this. With that, I move to report.
Second.
All right. There's a motion and a second to report as amended, Senate Bill 5107. Clerk, call the roll.
Senator Norman. Senator Newman. Senator Obenshain. Senator Lucas.
Senator Lucas to report.
Senator Spruill. Senator Edwards. Senator Deeds. Senator Barker. Senator Marsden. Senator Evan. Aye. Senator Lewis. Senator Sirvel. Senator Mason. Senator Bell. Senator Saslow.
Aye. All right, 2 down, 1 to go. This is Senate Bill 5118, and the patron is Senator McClellan. Senator McClellan, you're up.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I do have a substitute.
Senator McClellan, can I make a request? If you take off your mask when you speak, it'll be easier for us to understand you. All right, there's a motion and a substitute to accept a motion and a second to accept the substitute. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Substitute is now before us.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Senate Bill 5118 tries to address what happens when the moratorium on utilities disconnecting customers for non-payment of their utility bills as a result of the COVID pandemic that was put in place by the State Corporation Commission or any such moratorium that this body may adopt as a result of proposed budget language. What happens when that moratorium ends and you have customers who have at this point 6 months worth of bills that all come due at once while they are trying to The Commission, when it extended its moratorium in June, required the utilities under its jurisdiction, residential, small business, and large commercial customers, to institute payment plans that would cover the debt accrued during that moratorium period for up to 12 months and prohibited charging late payments and fees and a few other items. But that order will at this point expire on September 16th when the SEC's moratorium itself expires, and they extended it to the 16th to give this body time to deal with this legislatively. What this bill in the substitute does is for a small subset of the customers addressed by the Commission, mainly residential customers, it codifies that payment plan with a slight difference. The Commission said that the payment plans could be up to 12 months. For many of these residential customers, 12 months will not be enough. And so it says that the payment plan can be up to 24 months. It doesn't mandate 24 months. It says it can be up to 24 months. Otherwise, the payment plans are fairly similar between what the Commission ordered and what is in the substitute. It does, however, provide, in case, we're not just dealing with what happens now. Hopefully, we will not face a situation where there is a similar moratorium in the future, but we can't assume that. We have to be prepared. So this would codify that in the event there is another moratorium put in place as a result of a public health state of emergency, that those payment plans would be required when that moratorium ends. But it also allows the utilities to roll an existing payment plan into that payment plan if a customer is still paying back the debt accrued right now. The main difference, some of you have heard from, I believe, some of the co-ops who have expressed some opposition to this substitute because there is one major difference from the introduced bill. In the introduced bill, we had express language allowing those utilities cost recovery of the costs incurred as a result of the moratorium. There were some concerns raised in our stakeholder discussions that that language could be inconsistent with an order that was issued by the Commission in April at the request of utilities that would essentially allow them to account for those costs and seek recovery in a future rate case. So believing that that language was not necessary in this bill, we took that language out. However, I have no problem putting that language back in if that is the desire of the committee and the co-ops. That's basically the bill.
Okay. Questions of the patron?
Mr. Chairman, Mason,
Senator Mason.
I've got a couple. Mr. Chairman and Senator McClellan, one of my local municipal water was concerned that this would not be as good as what they have in place today. If you already have a payment plan in place, does that suffice under your bill?
Yes, with one caveat. If there is a payment plan in place today and the customers are able to pay back their debt under that payment plan, then the utility or the water company doesn't have to do anything else. If that payment plan does not lead the customer to repay their debt, then they would have to basically modify it to be this. But there is language in the bill, I think lines 20 to 21, that basically, they're two different sections. We make clear that the utility has to coordinate its payment plan with any other relevant financial assistance programs, which would include an existing payment plan, energy assistance, weatherization, et cetera, et cetera. I'm sorry, Mr. Chair, there is one other part of the bill that's pretty important that I forgot to mention, and it's not controversial, but I figured I should go ahead and mention it. This bill also requires the utilities to report to the State Corporation Commission certain data on the number of accounts remaining in payment plans, the total amounts. Basically gives us information that we would need to see, are the utilities in a position where their customers are going to repay their debt or not, so that we can, when we come back in January or next session, figure out if we need to do more. So there is a data collection piece to this bill that I forgot to mention.
Mr. Chairman. Senator Morrison. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Senator McClellan, I have a co-op in my district, NODEC, who are very concerned on the cost recovery issue. And there is also, I've been dealing with the administration a little bit over the past few days, as have others. Where would you say the status of this bill is in terms of coordinating it and getting it essentially identical in purpose to the government budget language that addresses the same topic?
Mr. Chairman, I would say that all of the stakeholders, including the administration, were on several conference calls on Friday through the weekend for that very purpose. It is my understanding that the administration supports this bill as it is in substitute, that to the extent there was a payment plan provided in the budget language, it would be conforms to this, but Angela tomorrow, I understand that we have to find and can answer that further if necessary.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Further question? Senator Morrison. So my understanding, Senator McClellan, is you would not have any objections to adding back the language that covers the FCC memo of April 29th, puts that back into your bill if it seems that the stakeholders involved in this would prefer that. Is that still your position?
I don't think that it's necessary, but if that provides comfort to the committee and to the co-ops, then I'm happy to put that in.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll just add one thing here, is that this is a fairly complex bill. Clearly Dominion Power has capacity to handle this in one way with their deep pockets, whereas some of these co-ops, they're owned by their clients, if you will, and the cash reserves are limited, and there's only so far that they can go here before they become insolvent. And but at any rate, I would just advise the body that we really need to. Hopefully, there'll be somebody on the line here who can further express the concerns of the co-ops, but we may need to play around with this a little bit on the floor if need be. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman. Still a work in progress.
Mr. Chair, if I can respond briefly.
It's still a work in progress. Senator McClellan is working as hard as she can to try to reach a consensus agreement with parties.
Mr. Chairman?
Mr. Chairman, if I can just respond.
Senator Edwards.
Yeah, I guess this is Senator McClellan, and what we're discussing. I just received a text message a couple hours ago from a run a gas company. They've been working, they say, with Virginia Property Law Center. They're making progress with this draft goes backwards. And there's a budget amendment they say introduced by the governor that is a conflict with this bill. I don't know if you could maybe help me understand what they're asking.
Yes, Mr. Chair, that is the issue we have been discussing. The substitute took out language from the introduced bill dealing with cost recovery. That language was in the introduced bill. It was taken out because in our discussions with the State Corporation Commission to ensure it didn't conflict with their order, when we looked at the order, which adopted something requested by the utilities, we felt the order was sufficient. So we took it out. If the utilities want that language put back in, which is in the introduced version, I have no problem with that, and have said that multiple times today and to those utilities. So I will accept the floor of it as a committee amendment, just putting that language from the introduced bill into the substitute dealing with cost recovery.
Mr. Chairman.
Senator Lewis and then Senator Bell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Question for Senator McClellan, and well, an observation and a question. I share similar concerns, or very similar concerns with Senator Marsden and also Senator Edwards, and I recognize this is a process, and I do hope these talks will continue. But the first question I have is on a relatively smaller point, and that is there's reference in there to these payment plans being sustainable and affordable for the customer. How is the utility supposed to determine that?
Mr. Chair, in our conversations with the utilities, they said that they work with their customers on an individual basis in developing payment plans for them now. And so this is not imposing anything on them that they say they don't already do. If you would like different language there, but I think the point here is when a moratorium ends and 6 months worth of bills come due, the payment plan, monthly payments for that 6 months worth of bills shouldn't put the customers in a position where they can't pay it, plus their current bill going forward. And so that concept is put in this bill, but the utility companies work with their customers on a daily basis to do that anyway. This just says it's the will of the General Assembly, they continue to do that.
Additional question, Mr. Chairman. And I know we talked about the recovery cost issue, but there was also language in there about petitioning the SEC for relief due to fiscal stress. And I understand, would you be amenable to put it into that language either here in committee or on the floor, being put back into the bill?
Yes, they're already allowed to do that under the SEC's April order, so I don't object to putting that in.
Mr. Chairman, I'll just say in closing that, again, this is a big piece of legislation. It's complex. The smaller utilities, co-ops, water companies, gas companies, there's some real issues here. And I recognize this process. I recognize the merits of the concept of the bill, and I'm willing to move it along. But I hope and frankly will insist that these conversations continue in order to keep my vote on the floor when it comes up. So thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Senator Bell.
Mr. Chairman, I just want to
Say I share the same concerns about
co-ops and smaller utility companies. I appreciate Senator McClellan's willingness to put those provisions back in. I would like to move that we do that now, because I'd like to see the version as we go forward that's closer to where we can end up. And the two provisions, I don't know if you want to have the clerk read them out, Senator McClellan, or not, but that's recovery cost and about the other safety valve, basically, which would reference the disconnects. So with that, I would if you want to read that out, and I would so move that we add those now.
I'll second the motion.
Mr. Chair, I will defer to the clerk, but it is in the original version of the bill. I think it starts at line 51, but if counsel to the committee could probably identify all the relevant lines from the original bill that need to go back into the
Tom, are you there?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman, Senator McClellan. I've been having some trouble hearing, but I think you're referencing, as the senator said, lines 51 through 58 of the introduced bill.
Mr. Chair, and I believe 59 through 62.
All right, what would it say?
So we put those two paragraphs, or the lines 51 through 62 back in the bill. Is that the amendment?
Is that where it says debt recovered by EDRP shall not be recognized as an asset?
Yes, Mr. Chair. Can we have the clerk read those lines just for the benefit of everybody on the line?
Certainly. Starting on line 51, debt recovered by an EDRP shall not be recognized as an asset for regulatory purposes, and any associated costs shall not be recoverable through base rates or as a rate adjustment clause. Except for any express modifications stated in this act, nothing in this act shall affect any orders of the Commission, including the order of the Commission in case number PUR-2020-00074, issued on April 29, 2020, regarding the establishment of regulatory assets and utility accounting matters to track or potentially recover costs associated with aged accounts, account receivable under the service disconnection moratorium or other COVID-19 related expenses, nor shall this act affect any non-EDRP rate recovery issues, including late fees associated with aged accounts receivable due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Any utility subject to regulation by the Commission may petition the Commission for relief and exemption from the service disconnection moratorium and to resume normal disconnections at any time. Nothing in this act shall be well, that's already in there. 2020, regarding the establishment of regulatory assets and utility accounting matters to track or potentially recover costs associated with aged accounts, account receivable under the service disconnection moratorium or other COVID-19 related expenses, nor shall this act affect any non-EDRP rate recovery.
Mr. Chairman, I apologize for interrupting him. This is a pretty significant bill, and to be trying to redo this on the fly and reading what it's going to look at like makes no sense to me. Is any reason we cannot pass this bill by for the day, intending no harm, to have it rewritten as the senator is willing to amend it, and having us look at it in a final format rather than trying to make a significant decision as we sit here and piece it together?
I'm amenable to that. I would be amenable to that.
Okay. All right, is there a motion then to carry, and we will have another meeting then, and I'll get the schedule from the clerk's office, and we'll announce it tomorrow morning at the session. Is there a motion then to have Senate Bill 51, hold on, that's 5118 go by for the day?
So moved.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, it's bye for the day, and I will tell you all tomorrow at 10 o'clock when the next meeting of Commerce and Labor, and it'll probably be tomorrow. Okay, so hopefully we can get things drawn up. All right, is there any other business to come before the committee? If not, the committee will rise.
Hallelujah.